All right, Rosh Chodesh Sameach. Why am I seeing a countdown again on the other screen? Okay. Rosh Chodesh Sameach. All right, welcome to our Rosh Chodesh service. All right, this is for the month of Adar 2. All right, we got that extra month this year. And go ahead and make sure your phones are silenced so that we're ready for the service. And we should have announced that before we got started, but we got here a little late. All right, so tonight's service kind of works like this. We go through this long, grueling service of 15 minutes, and then I'm probably going to talk, and that'll be long and grueling. Okay. No, seriously, we're going to be celebrating the new moon. Now, in Scripture, that's all it says is to celebrate the new moon. It doesn't give us any other instruction. Maybe what I should tell everybody who's watching now is that this is not a Sabbath. It never was in Scripture. I know in Amos it says, when is the Sabbath going to end in the new moon so that we can, sell and do these things. That was very much likely to be talking about the one new moon that's a Sabbath, which is the day of the trumpets, right? It's the Tishrei 1, okay? All right, there's no other instruction anywhere that the new moon is a Sabbath. All right. As a matter of fact, I'm confident every Sabbath that he wanted us to know about is listed in the same place in Leviticus 23. All right, so we have that. All right, so the way this works is that we're going to be basically reading off the screen if you're on the live stream. If you're here, we're going to read off the screen here too. And we're going to read together everything except the one page where I just announce officially the new moon. You'll see that one. And like I said, it's only a few minute service. It's not very long. And then we'll go ahead and have some group therapy or whatever comes out of my mouth at that point. All right? Okay, so if you'll all rise, we'll begin with the sounding of the silver trumpet. Amen. Amen. Some of you out there may be wondering, is there like a specific way you're supposed to do that? I don't know. That's just the way I've been doing it and kind of picked up a pattern that I use. So there isn't anything scripturally that tells us how to do that silver trumpet blowing. All right. So we're all going to go ahead now and read off of the screen, beginning with Psalm 51 and verse 15. Yahweh sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Yahweh, open my lips, that my mouth declare your praise. May the expressions of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, Yahweh, my rock and my redeemer. Numbers chapter 10 and verse 10. Also in the day of your gladness and in your appointed times and in the beginnings of your months, you shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. A little fast on the slides there. Okay. Kedushat Levanah, sanctification of the new moon. O Yahweh, our Elohim, and Elohim of our fathers, make this coming month one of good and blessing. Grant us long life, a life of peace, of good, of blessing, of sustenance, of vigor. A life marked by a reverence for you and a dread of sin. A life free from shame and reproach. A life of prosperity and honor. A life in which love of the living Torah and the fear of Elohim animates us. A life in which our heartfelt desires are fulfilled for good. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Amen. He who performed miracles for our fathers and liberated them from slavery to freedom, may he quickly liberate us and gather our exiles from the four corners of the earth, and let us say, Amen. The new moon of the month of Adar 2 is today. Somebody didn't fix that slide. May it prove to be good and fruitful for all 12 tribes of Israel. May the set-apart one, blessed be he, grant this Rosh Chodesh to us and to all his people, for life and peace, for gladness and joy, for deliverance and consolation, and let us say, Amen. Together, blessed, praised, glorified, honored, and exalted be the name of the King of Kings, the set-apart one. Blessed be he, who is the first and the last, and beside him there is no Elohim. Extol him in the heavens. Yahweh is his name. Rejoice before his face. His name is honored beyond all blessing and praise. Blessed be his name, whose glorious kingdom is forever. Let the name of Yahweh be blessed forever and ever. From Isaiah 66, verses 22 and 23. For as the new heavens and the new earth that I make stand before me, declares Yahweh, so your seed and your name shall stand. And it shall be that from Rosh Chodesh to Rosh Chodesh, and from Shabbat to Shabbat, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahweh. Amen, amen. Rosh Chodesh Sameach. All right, fantastic. You may be seated. You may be seated. All right, let me see something here if I have. Oh, let's see. All right, that was something else I was going to maybe talk about. Okay, good. All right, so what shall we talk about today? Let's start off as we do each new moon, each month, by refreshing our memory about what in the world is going on here, right? What are we doing? What is he doing? Why are we here? Well, we're all here because he, the creator of the universe, reached out and touched you. Like, and gave you a personal invitation to seek, ask, and knock, and look for him, and then opened your mind, your heart, and your understanding so you can receive the truth. All right, so that's why we're here. You're also here because he picked the moment that he believed was the moment he needed to pick so that you could get there from that place. And that's why he didn't pick everybody at the same age. Like everybody turned 13 at the same time, and boom, and that's the age you got it. No. All of us have different journeys. All of us have different experiences. And he picked you at the time that was right for you. So what do we need to do? Number one, remember how I taught you guys what revelation is? Information that you have to receive and then put into place for it to be of any value. So he's revealing these things to you, but you got to receive it. You have to receive that you can do this. Some of you still struggle with that. You can do this. As a matter of fact, you are doing it for the most part. You're just frustrated with the little parts you're not doing right yet or you're still struggling with. But you're doing more than you used to do. All right? So you can do this. Now, of course, part of the thing that I just said at the end there was you have been doing this to some degree is look. You have to look backwards. Look where you came from. You know, we're coming up on almost, we have, of course, Purim coming first, and then we have Passover. So Passover every year brings us back to the cycle of you were slaves in Egypt. Well, you guys are all slaves in your own personal Egypt. Okay, you're living in whatever lifestyle and world that you were in where you were slaves to sin. It had power over you. And so then there's a setting free, right? This exodus that we do as we walk through our wilderness journeys. And so just remember that part of this each month is giving you an opportunity to go not only looking back maybe a month, which you should do. Look back a month and see how much you've grown in a month. How about looking back a year, 5 years? You know, depending on whenever you started in this. You know, whatever it was that you started seeing the truth. When he touched you and popped your bubble, for some of you, it's a number of months. Well, look at how far you've come in a number of months. For some of you, it's a number of years. Well, how far have you come? Don't be frustrated that you haven't arrived yet. You ready for this? I'm going to mess you up. You're never going to arrive. That's okay. Because, well, actually, you are going to arrive. It's just not going to look like you think it's going to look. So what does arriving look like? Well, I think it looks like Deuteronomy 8:2, that you're demonstrating that it's in your heart. And with humbleness, of course, is the first part. He's going to humble us. But you're demonstrating in your heart that it's in your heart to keep his commands, which is to keep covenant. Now, demonstrating it in your heart does not have the expectation that you're going to be perfect. You're not. Okay? You know, I do have a sort of different approach when I talk to people and I counsel people. You can call it sort of blunt. You can call it whatever. But I've got people coming in here all upset and afraid they're going to die, and I stopped them in the middle of it and said, you're right, you are going to die. And they go, what? You can't die. Well, maybe not next week, but everybody's going to die. I mean, so it's like, let's get past that, right? Well, the same thing with, well, I keep making mistakes. Well, everybody keeps making mistakes. Let's get past that. What matters is how you handle when you make the mistakes. That's why he gives us this process that we call repentance, okay? And then you can be wiped clean and you get to start again. And then when you mess up, you go through the process again. You recommit, to do these things. Look, we just came out of the the Hanukkah celebration was the idea of rededication. Well, we need to be rededicating ourselves all the time. I would call that whenever we mess up, we rededicate ourselves when we repent. Father, I'm really sorry I just did what I did. I wish I hadn't done it. If I could, I would undo it. And I'm going to commit now to work really hard not to do it again. I'm rededicating my efforts. Okay, if you think, wow, that was good. There's a whole teaching called repentance. It has all that in it. Go listen to the teaching, all right? And so let's just really, truly embrace the revelation that, first of all, there's a creator of the universe. Like, this isn't an accident just randomly going off the cliff, okay? This is a wonderful, amazing creation that we are taking off the cliff. And he's going to bring it where it needs to be once we get to that point of almost wiping it all out. He gives us that as a promise. In the meantime, we're going to do this little up, down thing. As life gets better, then it gets worse. And some of you thinking, I don't get the better ones. Well, keep working at it. You'll get some better ones. And actually, if you really look at your life, you've had worse ones. So even if you think life is bad now, you've had worse, okay? And if this is the worst, well, then you also know you've had better. So you lose either way in that argument. Because wherever you are right now, you've either had better or worse, okay? One or the other. But one day, he's going to let it get to the point where Yeshua has to come and intervene. That day doesn't matter, by the way, that you know when it is. Because it doesn't even matter how old you are, because you could be 45 and die before the person that's 85. Okay? So like your age doesn't even give you a motivator to know, well, I'll wait till I get older, then I'll really kick it into gear. You don't know how much time you have. And don't you think he's watching? Okay? Let me ask you as a parent, because most of you are old enough that you've had children, you've watched people with children. Is it impressive to you when you tell your child, go clean your room, and you go out upstairs or down across the hall, wherever it is, like 3 hours later, and you see them scrambling to do it as you're walking up the staircase? See, that's what a last-minute response looks like, okay? They could have gone right up and just started doing it. It would have been done already, right? So you gave them enough time, but all of a sudden, it's a frenzy of action. And it's only making it worse at this point. See, that's not going to work either for you. Now, you as a parent, you're still sitting there going, I'm disappointed because you didn't go up when I told you to do when I told you to. Even though they may show, boom, and it's done, and you walk in the room and it's done. Yeah, but you didn't do what I asked you to. I asked you to go up and do it. And so what are you doing every day to show Abba that you actually are excited about pleasing him? See, if your child was really excited about pleasing you, more than doing whatever they goofed off with, they would have done it first. Isn't that correct? Okay? And so your heart is thinking, why don't they just want to please me first? Okay? And that's the way our Father is. He's looking down going, I want to see how motivated and driven you are to please me first. It doesn't mean you're going to be perfect about it. He's also, by the way, going to measure, he's keeping track, of how long it takes you to repent when you know you messed up. I don't mean how long it takes you to repent and you didn't know you messed up, but as soon as you are aware that you did something you shouldn't do, or you didn't do something you're supposed to do, he's watching tick-tock, tick-tock, tick, to see how long is you going to push it off before you get on your face and say, I'm sorry, and own it. Because a lot of you really delay in all that, okay? There seems to be a lot of delay in all that. Is there something happening with the camera where the screen keeps sort of jumping on me? I don't know if there's something going on over there. Okay. No? Okay. So I'm watching on a monitor, so how do I know? Okay. So, I mean, I think it's really important that we understand the big picture. The big picture is he's watching our effort. Okay? Effort to do things right, effort to keep our covenant, effort to build that relationship, effort to love one another, effort to love him. Where's the effort? That doesn't mean it has to be like hard to do. Sometimes the effort means putting it first. Are you making the effort to prioritize him first and his things first? I mean, that's not like hard to do. Not physically, right? So when I say effort, I'm not talking about something that's necessarily physically challenging. Some of it's going to be emotionally or mentally challenging because you want what you want and he wants what he wants, and that doesn't always kind of work in your priorities. You know, you may decide, well, I want what I want and put him over here when it really should be the other way. All right? And so what are you doing? Every month we get these moments where we can like look at things and reevaluate ourselves. We're not going to reevaluate him. He's not changing. And by the way, don't beat yourself too bad. I mean, you're going to beat yourself up. First, look for any evidence that you've at least made some accomplishment. And by the way, maybe last month you didn't do very much. So then go back further to see where you actually have done some things. Because sometimes even your life is going to be a little bit up, down, up, down. You might have a sort of going in reverse type of deal for a couple of weeks or whatever. So that's okay. Own it, fix it, move on, right? I mean, these are all these nice little memes that I've given you, right? Okay? So you just own it, fix it, move on. And by fix it, it means you own it and repent. That's how you fix it. Fix it doesn't always mean you can go and undo whatever happened. At least it means that you're going to make a commitment that you're not going to do it again. All right, so at least you're going to be able to do that. And so every new moon is an opportunity, okay, to do that. Now, I think what I wanted to talk about tonight, in addition to these usual things, is I think we've talked about this before, but I really want to encourage you again. I did this in the Level Up class. So I'm going to give you a little piece of that. I want you to be more childlike in believing bigger than you believe. Okay? And I'm not talking, some of you thinking that I'm only talking like money or something. No, just believing that you can be more than you are right now. Open up that possibility of what you could be. Maybe you could be the type of wife you've never been, husband you've never been, friend you've never been, worker, co-worker you've never been. Maybe you could try something talent-wise you never thought to give a chance, but you always wanted to maybe try it. Maybe you could do something with art or music or something. Who knows? Something creative. Just think bigger. Because when you talk to children, they only get restricted by us. They think they can do anything. Okay? They have no limit on what they believe they can do. You ever see a kid struggling to do something and you go to help them like, no, I can do it. And you're sitting there looking at them, no, actually you can't because it's something you just can't do. You're too young, you don't have the right skill sets, and maybe you don't have the right dexterity with your fingers to do whatever it is, but you know the kid can't do it. But they're like, but I think I can do it. I need you to get that, right? I want you to not get what I'm saying, but get that type of belief that, hey, I don't want you to be stubbornly like you really can't and don't get help, but I want you to believe bigger than you're doing now. Because you already are trying to do something that's the biggest belief there is, which is you're trying to believe you could become Yeshua-like. You're trying to believe that you can actually transform into him. Well, I can't imagine anything bigger than that. Okay? And so if you can believe that, and I think you should, and you can, why can't you believe other things that you can do that you never really thought you could do or just didn't try because you were afraid or something? Dream a little bigger, get excited about it, okay? And let me tell you, if you keep working at it, it does come true eventually, all right? But you gotta really work at it, okay? I've said this in many ways, and I'll say it here again. I am right now exactly, I don't know what the right word is. I'm happy where I am right now in almost every area of my life, okay? But I wasn't always. Oh, I had some pretty good lows, okay? You guys got to watch one of my health lows a couple of years back. But I certainly had many financial lows. I've had some other things, in relationships and other things and family. I've had lots of lows. But it took me a long time, relatively speaking. I'm 60 years old now. But because I put the effort in and always believed it could get there, I'm really pretty happy with everything that I've got right now, okay? And you could be too. Some of you are thinking, well, I wish I was there. Well, but I'm not there by luck. I'm not there by accident. And no, it didn't happen overnight, okay? It'd be very different. I was standing up here when I first started ministry and I was 38 years old, or something like that, 39 years old. And I'm like, well, of course, kids, you don't know nothing about nothing. You haven't had life beat you in the teeth yet. Okay, I'm 60 now. Had a few teeth kicked in, okay? But I want you to believe bigger. And by the way, if you ever talk to me privately, you'll see that some of the things I'm talking about and dreaming about doing and everything else are still thinking much bigger, okay? My only challenge is that I'll run out of time, but I'm not going to stop because I'm worried about running out of time, okay? But I'm just going to keep going. And I want you to do the same thing. Wherever you are, there's another level you can get to. In whatever area we're talking about. It could be your relationships. It could be your finance. It could be your emotions. It could be your health. It could be your spiritual life, whatever. There's another notch up you can go. I don't want you just to dream about that next notch. I want you to dream about way, way beyond that and then aim at the next notch as just being a stepping stone to the next. Because after all, whatever going on in your life right now is a part of ultimately being a part of the family of Elohim in the kingdom. I mean, that's, how many notches up from where you are now, okay? Now, you won't have any financial problems then. You won't have any relationship problems then. You won't have any emotional problems then. You won't have any spiritual problems then. Wait. You're not going to like the punchline. Because you'll have already fixed them. Not because he will have fixed them. Okay? There's a parable of a couple of parables that deal with stewardship. What, you think he's going to put you in the kingdom and give you a whole bunch of stuff to steward when you can't steward what you got now? I mean, think about it. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that you should be like X number of dollars in the bank. I'm saying, can you steward, even if you're on a fixed income, can you steward it? Are you being a good steward of whatever you've got? Now, let's say you have health. Okay, are you a good steward of your health? Do you take care of your physical body? How are you as far as your relationships? Do you nurture, take care of, and steward those relationships well? The Father's going to want you to do a lot of things that are going to utilize all your areas. You're going to need to interact with people. You're going to need to handle things that have value. He may give you a planet to work with. Who knows what he's going to give you, okay? Well, okay, you flat earthers forget that there are no planets. All right, okay? For the rest of us, he might give us a planet, okay? So, but understand, all right, he may have you help people understand how to be healthy. Well, if you haven't figured it out, how are you going to help anybody with that? I'm just kind of throwing these things out there. So these new moons, I use them for reevaluating myself, reassessing where I'm at in all the areas of my life. Am I where I want to be yet? Now, when I told you I'm real excited and happy about where I am, I also told you I have no intention of staying there. I know there's another level and another level and another level. Okay? I think it was Robert Schuller wrote a book called Peak to Peak years ago, right? And, I know he's a Christian guy, but the thing is, the point of the motivational book was, if you're standing on the top of a mountain and there's a bigger mountain in front of you, you can only see how far you can see from that height. Then you got to climb up the next peak to see further than that, okay? So you only can see as far as you can see from where you are right now. So, yeah, you might not see as high as you really can go, but when you get there, you'll see more. But you got to work that climb up one step at a time, one level at a time. I want you guys to really be thinking about that. Look, I said this the other night. This is going to be my new sort of personal development mantra. I want you guys thinking about lifestyle at every age. Okay, quality of life, we'll call it. All right? What quality of life do you want by next month, by next year, in 5 years, in 10 years? Quality of life should include everything. Lifestyle sounds too much like what you owned, okay? I want you to be thinking about the quality of your relationships, the quality of your vertical alignment with the Father, with ministry. I want you to think about the quality of your health, the quality of your finances, the quality of everything that you get, your emotions. I keep bringing emotions because a lot of you really struggle with the quality of the level of control you have with dealing with your emotions. I mean, it's a very big thing now. I don't know, just now. I mean, you could go back in history, read through the scripture, you can see people had a real hard time with their emotions. So I don't care how old you are, you could always improve the quality of your life. Okay? Now, let me just say this. If you are, let me see if I want to go forward or backward. Let's go forward. Let's say you're a teenager. All right? So you got to be thinking first about what quality of life you want to have when you finally go out on your own. Okay? That's your first level of quality of life change, is going out of your parents' house to on your own. But you also have to be thinking while that's happening, I wonder what I'm going to want to have my life look like. What's my quality of life going to be when I'm 25, when I'm 30, when I'm 35, when I'm 40? Then we start going in bigger jumps, like 10s, like 50, 60. You know, I think one of the main reasons why the average, not even the average, the vast majority of people turn 65 can't even come up with a $1,000 emergency fund is because they never thought about getting there. They never thought they'd be broke at 60. They just assumed somehow it would all work out. They didn't aim at anything. Some of you don't have the level of friendships and relationships that you really want, but the ones that you have now is just not what you. Well, did you really think about what you needed to do to get there at some point? Have you worked at that, at becoming the type of person that others would want to be friends with? You know, I had a lady who used to come here. And she left, and I asked her why she was leaving. And she left, she said, because this isn't a friendly congregation. I said, are you kidding me? She said, well, nobody, all this time I've been here, and nobody's come over to talk to me, and nobody does it. I said, have you gone and talked to anybody? Well, no. So it's all our fault, right? You didn't go over and talk to anybody, make yourself friendly and available to conversation, so everybody should have found a way to kind of beg you to be in a conversation. All right? And so I want us, again, all of these markers of time are ways to see where you are in hitting the targets you're aiming at. Of course, the biggest target is you in the kingdom, okay? And we all know, or should know, since we're not in Christianity anymore, the world anymore, that that's a target that you don't just get to without effort. That's not something you just get to because, well, I believe Yeshua exists. I believe there's a God. See, that doesn't get it. That's not enough. Oh, you need that to get there, because otherwise you're not going to do any of the other parts. It's just one part. Now that you know about them, what are you going to do? You know. See, Christianity has fostered that mindset of, you made your altar call. You got your golden ticket. Have a nice life. We'll see you in the kingdom. Okay, just show up on Sunday and pay your tithes. Wait a minute, that sounds like works. Well, why do I have to show up on Sunday? I mean, that's works. I thought we don't have to do works. Oh, and you got to tithe. That's not even in the top 10 commandments. I mean, so, we are hopefully growing out of that nonsense into where we need to be, right? All right? Look, sometimes we throw around a word and then people get mad at us like we use the idea of retarded. Your growth has been retarded or slowed down beyond where it should be because you've listened to lies. Okay? So I'm using the word appropriately here. All right? It has slowed down. That's the idea of retardation, is slowing something down from where it should be. Well, all the lies have done that to you. That's why you're not nobody told you enough when you were 20. That's why when you're 50, you're all messed up. Nobody told you enough when you were 30. No one told you enough when you were 40. And so now you're finally hearing, you're like, oh, it's too late. It's not too late. Okay, it's not too late. Don't tell me it's too late. Okay? You can always go up from wherever you are if that's what you choose to do. Okay? But you got to start believing truth and not lies. Lies that people maybe spoke into your life. I don't even like that phrase. What do you mean spoke into your life? They said stuff and you believed them. Spoke into your life. What are they, wizards and magic? I speak this into your life. No, they told you you're a loser. You'll never make it and amount to anything. They told you, oh, you're terrible and you can't do this and can't do that. They told you you'll... They said things, but you received it. Okay, but it was my mother. It was my father. But you chose to receive it. Of course, when you're really little, it's hard to make that choice. But now you're older and you can choose to reject it. Okay? And you got to really embrace the power you have to accept and reject. Okay? You know, it's really funny. Some of you will come to me because you actually have an emotional syndrome dealing with rejection. But yet at the same time, you're very reluctant to reject the things you need to reject. You're all worried about others rejecting you. Well, maybe the reason people reject you is because you're holding on to a bunch of stuff you should be rejecting. Stuff. I didn't say people. Just, you know. And then you wonder why people don't want to be around you. Or maybe you're just waiting on everybody to come to you. Look, I've watched people be real successful in this congregation. You know how I've seen them be successful? They spend time around people they want to be friendly with, quietly around them. They see a group of people talking, they kind of walk over, just kind of stand around and kind of get the sense of everything. And then people start to notice that just there, and they might say hi and how are you? Because you're making an effort. You don't have to make a big effort, you know. Just kind of walk over. If I was new in this congregation and saw a bunch of the guys hanging out after services, I'd kind of walk over and just stand there. That's kind of saying hi, you know, whatever, and just not, it's kind of like learning the rhythm of it. I'm just going to observe, okay? I'm going to observe so I could figure out the rhythm of this particular group and how it works. I'm not going to expect them to find me sitting over here when they're all hanging out over there and kind of drag me over and say, hey, come on over here. We want to, you know, hang out with you. And you hear the group is going out after we already ate, which is a weird thing we do. You know, like 10 o'clock at night on Saturday, because we already ate after services. And so you find out, hey, is it okay if I come along? And they say, sure, everybody can come. And then you come and you sit with everybody. And again, if someone talks to you or you want to talk to them, say, hey, by the way, my name is so, whatever. I mean, but you kind of take it nice and slow. And next thing you know, you show up 3 or 4 times to these different things, and people start to feel like you're part of the group. And they realize you have an interest in being a part of the group. I mean, there's the effort that we get to put in. You got to apply that in all the areas of your life, okay? Because I told the lady when she left, said we were unfriendly. I said, well, then you don't belong here. If you can't see how friendly this congregation, Billy's laughing because the elder knows I said stuff like that. Look, it's not the right place for you. We're not here to do for you what you need to do for yourself, okay? The Father doesn't, and we're kind of down the vertical. The Son doesn't, we don't, okay? For all of you that call here, please, no, up front, no, we are not ever going to do what you need to do for you. We'll do things you can't do if it's something that's within our purview to do. We'll definitely give you advice on the things that's not for us to do, but you need to do yourself, and give you advice about doing it. But you're still going to need to do what things that you need to do, because otherwise we are interfering with your growth and development. A bunch of you ruined your kids already doing that. You know, you wonder why your 30 and 40-year-old kids are doing so badly, and you have to look back and realize because you did things for them that they should have done for themselves. You know? Look, I think my daughter and my son are doing so well, even though they're in this 19 and 20s, because we didn't. You know, we would not. They would come to us and was like, nope. You know? They'd have a little meltdown over homeschooling high school stuff, and I always said to them the same thing. I already graduated high school. It's not my problem. You're thinking, what? Who helped you when you were in high school? Nobody helped me. No, don't get me wrong. I helped them to some degree, but they had to learn. By high school, you got to learn how to do things yourself. You got to learn how to solve things, figure them out, find information, not look for somebody to do it for you. You know what these geniuses do today? They find the website that does it all for you, which only makes them more useless as they get older, because now they're only learning to try to shortcut everything. You know? From the top, with the Father, all the way down, we should not be doing for others what they should and must do for themselves. You guys are thinking, what kind of ministry are you? The right kind, okay? Because we want you to grow up into Him. I do it for you, how does that help anything? Well, it would make it a lot easier if you did. No, it doesn't. It makes your chance of hearing the words, well done, good and trustworthy servant, a lot less likely. So no, it doesn't help you. So when you guys call, especially about, there's two things that always come up. The finances is the biggest one, and I'm like, but you guys are not willing to even make the budget. If you can't spend, and it's hours, if you can't spend the hours to write down in some sort of a paper or a spreadsheet every penny you spent for the last 3 months, get it off your credit card statements, get it off your bank statement, wherever you got it written. If you can't figure that out, then sort it by category. This was household expenses. This was for all automobile expenses. This was insurance. This was food. This was shelter, right? If you can't break that all down because it takes hours we'll even give you the worksheets. And we give you a class that tells you how to do it. It's free online, right? On the MTOI website. I did one, Elder did one. But then you call us up and we keep saying, where's your budget? All right, call me back when you have a budget. Okay? Because it's too much work. Can I tell you something? You can ask my wife, she'll tell you this. We've been through some broke periods, okay? And she can tell you that in those broke periods especially, I knew where every penny went. I even called her at a store because I'm watching the online banking that closely, saying, what did you just buy? Not that she did anything wrong. I'm just saying is, because I'm saying we were really broke. All right? You have to know. Now, what if you monitored your relationships on that level and say, what am I doing that is needed to keep this relationship right? Because you got to do this to get your budget right. When you're tight financially, you got to watch every penny and what you do and where it goes and everything. Well, are you doing that with your relationships? What kind of a spending are you doing on your relationship? And I don't mean money. I mean, are you giving the time and the nurturing and the attention? I mean, what are you doing? Okay? Let me tell you something, and maybe you guys will just think this is dumb or whatever, but maybe my wife will get mad at me. I don't know. But I can tell you this, all right? I can tell you, she's glaring at me like, what's coming? All right. We are probably right now treating each other probably even more goofy than when we first met. Like, we're more excited when we see each other, and we act more excited after 25 years because we realize that's what's needed to keep the thing going right. Okay? So you're not mad at me? She was a little bit like, uh-oh, what's coming? She's like, because she knows me, because it could be anything. No, but like when I come home into a call, like, hi, how are you? Oh, so excited. But it's real, right? But we, I don't know how real it might have been the very first time. We wanted to feel that way, and we started doing those things, and it just started creating a real feeling that way. Even if it wasn't fully there in the beginning, we just realized we needed that, right? So you got to put that in. So what does your finances need? What do your relationships need? What does getting your emotions under control need? What's your spiritual life need? You got to be able to look at things and figure out what it needs, and then you have to do those things every day. Okay? Every day. Okay? Every month I took the bank statements, card statements, everything, and put them, almost daily if I could, put them in a spreadsheet so I knew exactly where everything was, where it went, what came in. Then I could just do a sort. If you're not using a spreadsheet, these things are easy. Designate all the things that are in a category, put them in the same place, know what the totals are. I would do 3 months at a time, divided by 3. That's how much on average I was spending a month. Very simple. But how do you do that with a relationship? You got to be paying attention. How much time are you spending? What's the quality of that time? Are you speaking the love languages that each other has? If you don't know your wife or your husband's love language, whatever, you don't know the love language, how do you communicate? You got to know, it's especially important if it's not naturally the same, and that happens a lot, okay? Like my daughter and I don't have to think about it. We have the same language. So that works real easy. But my wife and I don't have the same language. She has to think about it. I have to think about it. Because if I do the love language to her that I would do to my daughter, where I give my daughter a hug and tell her how awesome she is, we're good to go. okay? Because physical touch, words of affirmation, we're both happy. So a good morning hug, both looking at each other saying you're the best, that's a good start for the day, okay? But that's not her love language, okay? And she doesn't realize it's mine and thinks, okay, I got to go do that, all right? So her love language is one I have to think to speak, like with conscious effort. Not like it's hard, but I have to actually be actively thinking. What do I do today to give her the quality time that she needs, okay? By her definition, by the way, which would not be mine. Everybody has a different definition of these love languages. Don't just think you know what the other one is just because, well, I know her love language is. Well, yeah, but ask her what it looks like. Because there are some things I would have been like, that's quality time? Okay, good. Now I know, okay? You know, you want to hang out with her and have fun? Go clean something with her. She'll have the best time. All you ladies that worked in the showers where we store all that stuff and cleaned it up the other day, that's like her favorite day last month. I mean, she just had the best time, okay? And so did some of you because you're crazy like she is, okay? I mean, but to me, that's weird. To some of you, you get it, right? That's something that, you know. The funniest thing was watching her so angry and at the same time having the best time resorting my son's Legos because they were in the wrong boxes. So she's all complaining about how he puts everything in, but then she's sitting there having the best time sorting them. Same thing with my daughter's dolls. Why can't she put the ones in the? But then she's sitting there on the floor playing with them, putting them in the drawers. And I'm watching this weird mix of she's mad, but she's having a great time. You know, she's laughing her head off there because she knows it's true. And I'm sitting there going, she's saying, I said, why are you upset about it? You're having the best time. Stop complaining. Okay? But you have to put that effort in, okay? And look, it's not easy to do. We did not always have what we have right now. We've had our ups and downs like any relationship does, but we come to realize we have to put the effort in to A, be more excited about each other, and B, speak each other's languages, and C, do the learn, adjust thing that I teach you guys, right? Observe, learn, adjust. Because most people that fight until it finally is over is because they refuse to learn and adjust. They're observing, they're seeing it, but it's like blind, like right over there, okay? Okay, then you look at them like, you already know I don't like that. Why are you doing that? And the other person's like, well, I don't know. What do you mean you don't like that? You don't like asparagus? No. Anyway, you guys get the joke. She'll still make it for me, forgetting that I've said no like 25 years worth of no. But that's okay, because she likes it. See, some of you do that, though. You do things that, well, I like it, so why don't you like it? Of course you like it. No, they don't. I mean, sometimes they do, but it doesn't mean that they do just because you do. That works with him, too. Don't just think that you're doing something you think is for him. Lord, Lord, we did all these things for you. And he's like, that's not what I wanted you to do, though. Okay? I mean, you got to play this out and understand correctly how this all works. Every area of your life. Because he wants you as a complete person, tamim, complete, full of integrity, to be in the kingdom. So you don't have to be wealthy, or I should say like a high number of dollars, but you should have a good quality of lifestyle managing the money you have. And showing that you could be a good steward of what you have and manage a quality of life that you're comfortable with at that level. Okay? If you're unhappy where you are and don't have peace, I don't mean like you don't want more, but if you don't have peace where you are, then you're not where you need to be. You have to either find peace or you have to find a way up. Because that's what he's watching. Will you sit in misery, or are you going to make an effort to get out of misery? Or can you find a way to have peace with it? Because really, there's nothing wrong with where you are. You're just having an emotional challenge. Because you may be at a place that's just fine. It's just not where you really want it to be, but it's nothing wrong with it. You got enough money and enough food, enough everything, so what could be okay with that, you know? I'm going to be putting myself to the test with that here in a little bit probably because, you know, my wife and I have certain plans we want to make, and because of that, we're going to downsize into a house that really won't fit us so much, so we could save some money to do something else we want to do. And we're going to then lower our lifestyle in some ways, but hopefully our quality stays the same or better because we find to have peace with the fact that we're now going to be in a different sort of way because I have a plan that we both agreed to do something else. You know? So we were looking at some houses today, and it's like, okay. It was cute and everything else, but it's a lot smaller than where we are. okay? But then we could be out of debt and not owe anything on anything, including the house, okay? So, but then you have to then say, can I have peace? You know, Dave Ramsey's one of the guys out there that teaches a lot. You know, Elder does the financial peace course. He leads that for people, okay, Dave's course. But a phrase he uses all the time is, if you're willing to live like nobody else, meaning lower, then one day you'll live like nobody else, higher, right? But are you willing to pay that price up front? Okay? My wife and I have a sort of a dream house in mind. Nothing really big, really, but with certain size rooms and stuff. So the rooms that we do have, less than we have now, but would be the right size to do the things we want to do. And we're going to probably build that at some point. But while we're waiting to build that and saving up the money to build that, we're going to downsize from where we are. So instead of paying mortgage every month, it's paid, and that can accumulate. But the thing is, we're going to go backwards a little, sort of, right? Because we're going to maintain our peace and lifestyle so that we can go forward. Because sometimes you have to cut back in order to go forward. But then you should have peace because there's a purpose to it, okay? You may need to do that with your relationships. You may have a bunch of relationships thinking, well, I don't want to cut these out because then I won't have any, but they're toxic. So you may have to take a step back by cutting a bunch of people out in order to make room to then move forward again. Any area of your life, that can be. I mean, just think about it. Your health. Some of you got to cut out certain foods. And I'm not saying because you're fat, you're skinny, you're this. It's just foods that really are not helping you. They're hurting you. Because some of you are realizing kosher food is not all that bothers people. In other words, yeah, it's great. Don't eat pork. Don't eat shellfish. Oh, well, wait a minute. I can't eat, and then fill in the blank. I know we have one in the congregation can't eat anything corn. Corn. I'm trying to find things that don't have corn in it. All right? What if you can't eat wheat? What if you have gluten issues? What if you got certain issues with certain fried things, oil things, whatever? We all have problems with certain things. Can you cut it out of your life, though? Oh, but then somebody's going to walk in with that thing that you love so much, and you have to decide, am I going to eat it anyway, or am I going to have discipline to say no? But then you're going to think that you're suffering because you don't get to have it. But you get to have everything else, or whatever that everything else looks like. I mean, maybe there's a lot of things you can't have. Look, my wife can tell you, when I was really, really sick, when we first got married, I had a colitis problem. You guys, if you know what that is, it's something you don't want. All right? And I got on this incredibly strict diet so that it could heal, and it did. But, I mean, I would not eat anything that had any of these ingredients that I was not going to eat, okay? She'll tell you, I'd eat nothing than eat something that might have something in it that I can't have. That's how you have to get, though. And then it healed. You know, it was really a sad, funny, weird moment, but I made this in the most expensive organic chicken soup you can imagine. It was a recipe that came from a guy, Jordan Rubens, the guy that owns Garden of Life. He had a book called Patient Heal Thyself. So in it was a recipe for this chicken soup to help heal the gut. So my wife was making me the soup at her mother's house, and her mother looked at it, thought it needed other stuff, and threw stuff in it, ruining a $30 thing of chicken soup. Because, I mean, we actually put the chicken in it, boil. I mean, it was expensive chicken soup. And my wife looked at me and said, you guys eat it. I'm not eating it. It doesn't matter how much I spent. So you got to get to that point. Some of you will eat it because you bought it anyway. Okay? Some of you will find out you can't eat gluten and you still have a whole bunch of bread and other stuff in the house. You'll still eat it anyway because you already bought it. How about just throw it out? You can't eat it. Throw it out. Give it away. Why? Because you're thinking, oh, that's money down the toilet. That's what she said. No. It's worse if you eat it anyway. You already spent the money. You can't get the money back because you ate it. You're only going to hurt yourself because you ate it. Okay? Well, I invested so much time in that relationship, but the relationship's toxic. Be done with it already. All right? All right. We're going to use, well, I didn't realize I was going to cover this much time. Look, I'll give you this last thing here. I use this a lot. I really wish for sometimes this, I will have to get the Jamboard and roll it out here. I could draw on it. You guys know the mall map model I use, right? The you are here, destination, all right? You know, at the mall, it says the you are here, and you got to find the store you want and figure out how to get there. All right, so there's an important piece that I wanted to focus on here. You should know exactly, well, a couple of pieces. Element one is you got to know where you are. Your health, your spiritual, your relationships, your finances, whatever. You got to know where you are. Do a self-evaluation. Then you got to choose where you want to go. But here's the next thing, which has to do with what we were just talking about. The vehicle that goes in the middle should only be something that can get you to the destination. Because whatever you do in the middle is the thing that's supposed to get you there. So like, for example, if I'm planning to go visit my mother and my son who are now in New York City, I have to choose how to get there. I could walk. Wouldn't really work very well. So that's not a good vehicle, right? I could ride a bicycle. That's not going to work very well either, right? I could drive, but I don't know if I want to do, 15 hours in a car, right? So you got to choose your vehicle, right? So I want to say this too because some of you are going to start on something, a business, education, like college or something, whatever, put a bunch of money and time into it only to realize it's not going to actually get you where you want to go. But then you're going to feel like you got to finish it because you started it and throw more time and more money into something that's never going to get you where you want to go when you should actually stop and just move on. Like my wife really thought I was very quick or overly quick to quit jobs to the point where she thought I was lazy or something. Because she didn't know me that well when we got married. And what she didn't understand was as soon as I realized that vehicle would never get us where I wanted to go, I would stop and go find another vehicle. I wouldn't stop and sit at home and do nothing. I would just stop and get another vehicle. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Okay? So you guys out there are not quick enough to recognize the vehicle that you're using to get where you're going is the wrong vehicle. It's not going where you want or it'll never get you there. Okay? You want a certain lifestyle at 60 and where you are is a path to not making more than $20 an hour, you're not getting there. So you got to have a path that gets you to keep. That's why I use the earn your age per hour model. Try to find a way that at each age you have a job or something that pays you around your age per hour. That gives you usually enough money to have a very decent lifestyle. 40 years old, 40 an hour, 80,000 a year, you could probably have a pretty decent lifestyle in most places in the country. I'm talking about the U.S. In other places, you have to extrapolate how your money works, right? Okay? But if you're 20, making 20 an hour, and you're not thinking you need to make 40 by the time you're 40, all of a sudden 40 turns around, you're making 25 or 30, and you're not there. Now what are you going to do? You're married, you got 3 kids, and you're struggling. And then you want your wife to work. And you want your kids to work. Look, if you need, let me finish before you judge me. If you need your kids to work to pay your bills, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should go out there and get 4 jobs and make your kids do that. Now, let me finish, which is this. Your kids should work, but not because you need them to, because they need to. So you're teaching them to work so that you can get them out of your house and regain your sanity. I've got that now. I promise you, it works. That's also part of the reason why I'm like, hi, darling, hi, anybody? Because there's nobody in the house. Okay? It's pretty exciting, I'm telling you. Get them kids out of the house. Love them at a distance. Like with my daughter, I love that it's a short distance. I can see her all the time. Okay? But it's still a distance. All right? But you guys, you're just not understanding. You got the wrong vehicle. Now, let's take the spiritual life. You think, okay, why are you talking about this on Rosh Chodesh? Because I always talk about personal development on Rosh Chodesh. Okay? But let's bring it to the spiritual realm. A lot of you, you're not doing the things on the vehicle that get you to the place. Because you think, like the church told you, well, just make an altar call and show up once a week. That gets you there. No, it doesn't. So what gets you there? Well, being aware of the things that he wants you to do and not do, and then do them and not do them as he instructs. With the attitude and approach that he says. See, it's all about recognizing where you are, where you want to go, and how do you get there? What gets you there? All right? As I continue to help people with their lifestyle, we'll call it, I'm telling you, I'm going to get you obsessed at every age to think about where you want to be, not just now where you're upset and struggling, but where do you want to be in 10 years? Because I can give you a fix for right now that won't be good enough in 10 years. The fix I give you now or that you come up with now has to be good enough also in 10 years, in 20 years, so that you're not broke, okay? I know that people talk about, for example, one of the big things that gets talked about a lot is having enough life insurance, okay? And why do you need life insurance? So that if something happens to you, your spouse is taken care of, or at least if something happens to both of you, there's money to pay for the funeral or whatever it is that you're going to do. Or you can make enough money and not need it. And then your spouse is taken care of, and there's money to do everything, and then you don't need to spend money every month on some insurance. But if you start thinking about that at 50, it's going to be really tough, unless you've already done well by then. If you're thinking about that at 20, yeah, because I don't want to ever retire. I know you guys get worried about that, right? No, you already know me. They're going to have to force me to stop working because I love what I do. And even if I didn't, I find something to do, okay? As a matter of fact, I keep looking for more things to do because I like to be productive. But the thing is, I want my lifestyle, okay? If I want to go on a cruise right now, I can go on a cruise right now. Any week, anytime. If I want to go on a vacation, I can, because I've earned and created a lifestyle, okay? Being the top of this particular food chain, I get to make decisions, but I can't make decisions that are going to hurt you. So I know I have in place, I can have Elder do things, I can have Rabbi Tom do things, and so there's ways that can work out. I also realize that I don't want to overburden them, so I don't want to do this like just anytime I want and just overburden them. But the lifestyle I have was earned. I just want you to understand that. Because some of you are thinking, wow, you just have the lifestyle because we send our money. No. No. Let's be really clear. If I didn't work my butt off, you'd never send money. We wouldn't produce all the things that are blessing you, which is why you send. Because you're not sending it to me, you're sending it to him. But you wouldn't send it to me to send to him, you'd send it to somebody else to send to him. So why do you send it here? Because of all the hard work I put into this. Okay? And trust me, working with all of you, I've earned it, believe me, okay? Don't be insulted. Elder says it all the time. He says, Rabbi, you do not get paid enough. They just, because it's not easy. And the work is, but it's worth it, and it's wonderful. And by the way, it's very much a blessing. You guys, for the most part, I mean, really the big most part, are just incredible. You're supportive. You're encouraging. Most of you listen pretty. I mean, so the majority are actually pretty good from that point of view, okay? But for the ones that aren't, it's a lot to deal with. Or it's a lot to deal with. But just so you understand, I want you to understand, because some of you are thinking, oh, sure, you just do whatever you want now. We're going to make your lifestyle because of the money we buy. Well, actually, that was what it was supposed to be. Levi was supposed to have, Aaron was supposed to take that money and have his lifestyle. But bear in mind, Elder can tell you, even on a boat, I was on the phone with him every day, working. Okay? So I don't like to take vacation per se, but for my lifestyle, so my wife gets rich, so we go in and we enjoy some things. But I'm always thinking of you guys and always working. And there's ways that you can make that all work. So the whole thing comes into a balance. Okay, you got to find a way to have a balance of the amount of work you're doing, the relationships, the vertical with the spiritual, your health. You got to make sure you have a balance in all of these things. Because quite frankly, if I ignore my health completely, it doesn't matter what lifestyle, it's not going to be for a long time. I'll just be real short and burned out and done. All right? So you got to have and let's say I have the lifestyle and the health, but I don't do the spiritual, then at the end there's nothing. So what was the point of that? And if you don't figure out how to get the lifestyle and the spiritual, but only focus on the spiritual, he's going to be like, what are you going to do for me when you get here? You didn't do anything with the life I gave you there. So what are you going to do for me now? I put an immortal suit on you. You're going to be worth something and do something useful? Yeah, wow. Okay, somebody said, wow. I mean, if you're not a steward of what you have, why is he going to give you more? Didn't it say the ones who did well got more? Okay? And it didn't say necessarily because they started out with more. It's because they did something with what they had. And if you have really nothing, boy, you got it easy, really. Because anything you do is more. But if you have a lot, doing more isn't so easy to do necessarily. You've already got so much. So get excited about it, okay? So hopefully that helped a little bit. Does anybody? I threw a lot out there, so you can clap. Do I want to open it up for questions or comments? Do people want to say something? Okay, put the podium out. We'll let you guys come up and ask me stuff. Okay? Okay, you're going to have to give it a second for Esther to get the camera on the podium there. I got two people arguing who's first, and then Rocky gets there first anyway. Two ladies going, you go first, and Rocky just walks right up. He says, while you're arguing, I'll go first.
Okay, I doubt if I can get to this, but...
Wait, hold on for the camera. Okay, there we go.
Okay, there I am. Okay, so...
Go ahead.
You talked about... it's awful. When you talk that long, I only have this much attention span, so I only catch a few things, so I'll have to watch it over and over again. But what I did catch is how you said that we have to become like a child. It's like we have to use that imagination, you know, like we thought was a child. You know, we have to really, you know, form a resolution. That's what imagination means, you know, form like a potter. You know, and we come to our Father. He's our potter. He can, you know, he can help us in that imagination. He can change that and help us to believe and walk in this. But what's really on my heart is, you know, I've been struggling so bad with this anxiety for years. And now and I have like health anxiety, general anxiety, OCD. I mean, I have panic attacks, you know, and my health's been bad. You know, I got diagnosed with Barrett's some years ago. And when I got diagnosed with it, it was like precancerous. I mean, I was petrified. But in my faith, and then I believed in this JC dude. And I believed with all my heart. I mean, I had it so much in my heart. I knew that he was going to change that around. And I went like 6 months later, and it all changed back. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't precancerous. And it's ironic, and I've had that happen so much in my lifetime. My niece lived 2 hours from me. She was in college. Stay with me. It takes a little while. Her legs were rock hard, and she couldn't even move them. She couldn't walk. And I believed with all my heart I was going to drive down there, I was going to touch her, pray in that name, and she was going to be healed. And lo and behold, I went down there, touched her, prayed in that name, and I went home. And then 2 hours later, she gets up and sits on the bed. Next day, she walks and leaves, you know.
Sure.
Right. Well, I have this issue now, and I'm scared to death. I'm getting these scopes about my Barrett's, you know. But I've never really had this in this walk in Yeshua's name. But I know it's the Father. Father always does the healing. He heals. He wounds. You know, he does it all. You know, I know it's in him. Right. But I wish I had that in my heart, that I would believe so much. And I want that. And I'm like, is there something wrong with me? And that's where I said that this anxiety, it all boils down to what you believe, you know? And I know it's in that fear-based. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah. Okay, let me kind of unravel the problem here, okay? So,
thank you.
Yeah, look, the belief that your sister, that's what you said, right? Your sister,
my niece.
The belief that somebody else who's going through something will be okay is a whole different thing than dealing with the fear, dealing with yourself. Okay? You can't harbor or hold on to fear and belief in the same vessel. You weren't afraid for your niece. You loved and wanted her to be healed. Okay?
Right.
But you're afraid for you. And so it's hard to maintain that same level of belief because it's fighting hard against that fear that's trying to dwell in the same space. So what you need to do is come to a place of peace with, it is what it is. If it's cancer, it's cancer. If it's not, it's not. Okay? And that's look, the reality is, and this is what I think I said this to you when we counseled, you know, you are going to die. Everybody's going to die.
Right.
We just would rather it be later than sooner. Although I have to say, it's not necessarily a horrible thing for it to be sooner if you know about it, because then at least you could do things quickly that need to be done to get everything right and take life seriously more than someone who just has it all of a sudden happen to them and they didn't see it coming. Because then you might actually value every moment of everything a little bit more. But you know what? That's why I talked about a teaching. I've never done the teaching, but it was an idea called motivated by mortality, which is realizing you are going to die. So why would you, since you don't know when it is, why wouldn't you value then every moment? Not live in fear, but live in a moment, always appreciating every moment. And so your problem is trying to have fear and belief dwell in the same vessel.
Because belief is an emotion. When you believe,
yeah,
it isn't,
but
right?
exactly. But the thing is, you can't really believe if you're afraid. Okay?
So
Because the emunah is not there. You don't believe that he allowed or caused it, which means it's okay. All right? It's okay, meaning in the big picture of things, it's not going to hinder you getting where you need to go. As a matter of fact, it may be a part of your journey to get where you need to go because it's going to get you to fix some things maybe that you needed to fix, whatever it is. All right? So it's belief that makes well. It doesn't matter what name you did it. And I know people went to all kinds of weird Christian things and got healed. The thing is, their belief is what Abba honors. Okay? They believe he, not whoever the instruments are below, is doing that. But you have a hard time believing it because you're so afraid. What if it doesn't happen? What if this is real? What if I'm stuck with it? What if it's cancer? And that fear is blocking any way for the function of the belief.
Okay, but I didn't have it when I first got diagnosed with this, when it was the cells were changing and it possibly could turn into that. That's why I'm doubting my faith. Do I really believe? Do I really have it in my heart? Have I really laid this upon my heart and know what I've learned here, that he's still going to do it? I don't know why not. You know, it's just like.
But if he doesn't do it, that doesn't mean you didn't believe. If he doesn't do it, it may just have been his answer was not right now or no. But part of our belief is that those answers are valid. Okay? He's not going to heal everybody that asks to be healed. We're in a world that he has to allow to deteriorate into whatever so that he can have his evidence when human beings say, oh, we didn't really need you. Well, yes, you did. Look, see, you're all going to die if I didn't come and intervene. And so some people get healed. Some people get healed short term and then something else comes up. Some people don't get healed, okay? It's really the emunah that we still need to have and say, that's still his answers, right? Look, whenever I pray over people, and when I pray for myself, I say, Father, this is what I want, and I believe you can do it with all my heart. But if you choose not to, I'm okay with that too, because your will is what needs to be done. Yeshua asked him to take away his cup, and he said, but if you don't, it's okay. I get it, all right? You're in charge. And then you know what? Yeshua never said another word about it. He just went forward, did what he had to do, didn't whine, didn't cry, didn't, you know? And he knew he was going to die, and he knew exactly how bad it was going to be. But he said, Father, is there any, basically he was saying, not so much take this cup I don't want to do. He's like, is there any other way we could do this? You know, is this the only way to go about it? And the Father basically said, no, this is what's got to happen. And he said, good, your will be done. And that's where you find the peace, and then the anxiety goes away. The anxiety is because you don't have peace with what the reality is at the moment, okay?
Right.
I wish I had a way to have filmed it without scaring everybody to death. But the one moment you all saw me, 2 years ago, right around this time, okay? And I looked like death on a soda cracker. But my wife will tell you, I was as content as could be the whole time through it. I had no worry or thought about what was going to happen. It didn't look real good for a while there. I was not doing real well. I wasn't actually dying, but I certainly could have. My blood oxygen kept dropping into the 70s, you know. So without oxygen, I was really in trouble. Both my lungs had shut off. But she'll tell you, I never had any, because I accept what it is, you know. I wasn't worried about it. If I was going to go, I was going to go. And I knew she'd be okay, and the kids, things would work out, all right? But I also knew if this was just something that was going to get me through, that I was going to get through, all right? So I don't know if I ever thought that. I mean, I think I had confidence all the way through that somehow I was going to get through. I just didn't really feel as bad as I couldn't really function. But it didn't matter to me. I had that contentment. Elder could tell you, too, when he came by the house, all right? Ben got to see me at my worst because he showed up with the oxygen tank right at the beginning of it when I was really terrible. But it's can you get yourself, this is not me bragging about me. I'm trying to tell you it can be done. Can you have peace? I mean, if anybody can say I have a lot more work to do, I certainly could have said that, right? Not maybe more than anybody. I'm saying I certainly could have said, Father, why would you take me now? I got all this work to do. I'm just getting started. I didn't have the thought. I just is what it is. I trust him.
So
not is what it is like I didn't care. Like, is what it is. Whatever he's got, that's fine with me.
So it's like a Deuteronomy 8:2 test.
Always.
And a baptism of fire.
Always. Always. Okay?
Oh, joy. Oh, joy.
Well, no, you're only acting that way because you don't have peace with it. I have peace with having those challenges. I have peace that he's going to test me. I have peace because it's part of the process. Good. It is what it is. All of you warriors have got to learn to really feel, hey, it's okay. It is what it is.
That's not lack of faith. It's lack of faith.
It's not lack of faith. It's letting fear come in. Okay? Because the
Fear or doubt.
Because it's not the fear or doubt. It's the fear is based on you're overly concerned with how it plays out. Not that it will play out, but how it's going to play out. Okay? I'm going to die someday is what we're thinking, right? Everybody should be thinking, no, you're going to die someday. But I may not like it happening now under this circumstance, and so that's the fear. Because I'm okay with 95 in my sleep.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay? Right. But I'm not okay with cancer in my 60s, okay?
No.
So I'm just saying is that's where the lack of peace is. It's not a lack of fear. We're having a challenge with how it's going to play out. And also when. We don't want it now, okay?
Right.
And so that's not a lack of faith. It's that you're frustrated that it's not going to play out the way you'd like it to play out. Okay? You're going to miss out on things you wanted to do. You're going to miss out on things that you had planned. You're not going to spend as much time as with your new wife that you have or whatever. So these are fears, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I thought of all those things.
Right. But it's
I could
not,
cry thinking about it.
Right. But it's not a lack of faith.
Okay.
Okay? It's just fear coming in so your faith gets just lost in the mix because a stronger emotion popped up.
Right.
All right?
Yeah.
So having more faith isn't going to fix that. Finding peace will fix that.
All right.
Okay? Because you already have the faith to believe all those things, but it's just being wrecked by the fear.
Right.
Okay? So look for the peace.
Wow.
It is what it is.
Okay.
And that's where you say things like, you know what? I know I'm only married a little while, and it would be terribly sad for me and for her if something happened to me, but I'm just glad I even got this little opportunity.
Right.
It could have happened before, and I never would have been with her.
You're right.
Okay? So let me appreciate that I've had this time. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
And then you shouldn't be so worried. Okay? And if you're worried, well, what's going to happen to her? Well, then you should be preparing for that in case anything ever happens to you. That's why they have things like the insurance we talked
Right.
about. Okay?
Right.
You know. Okay?
Yeah.
So just so that that's clear so that we can understand. It's that fear that's getting away. I don't want you to think you don't have enough faith. Rocky, you got a lot of faith.
Oh, thank
Okay?
you.
Rocky, you are very much, you're concerned about your faith and everything else. The problem is that you've grown in a world full of fear and you've learned how to be afraid.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
And so that fear, listen, in all of you, in all of your lives, always the stronger emotion wins.
Yeah.
So if you have more than one emotion going on at the same time, I appreciate Yahweh and everything, but I'm afraid, I'm panicking. The stronger emotion is going to win. So the more you appreciate the time you have, the less you'll be afraid of the time you're not going to have.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next.
All right. Next on the group therapy chair.
I enjoy being behind
Ashley.
Rocky. I wanted to come up here and say two things. One, I'll be honored if you correct me because I'm hoping what I'll say will align with what you think. When you say we need to work on things now, a thought popped in so we can, because you're not going to go to kingdom not doing anything. And I'm like, we're probably going to have to work on something now so we can perfect it so when we get to the kingdom, we know what the heck we're doing. At least a little bit.
Well, look, I don't want to make it that one-to-one. In other words, I don't know that specific physical skills or whatever will be necessary as part of what we're talking about in the kingdom. But it's the approach of the mindset. In other words, for example, if you're a let's say you're a plumber like Shamish Harold is, okay? What he knows and how he thinks to do the things for plumbing, even though he might never do plumbing in the kingdom, but those skill sets of being able to look at a problem, fix it, see what's wrong, and analyze things, those are skill sets, okay? Mm-hmm. How to piece things together, make them work, get around bends, and add little elbows to them, whatever. Those kind of things can be applicable to lots of different potential opportunities, right? Same thing as a housewife, being able to run a household and manage children and plan meals. It's skill sets that may not be exactly used that same way in the kingdom, but appreciate that you're already developing skill sets. One of the best ways to know what skill sets you are is make a resume and realize on the resume you should write down all of the skills you have, okay? Like I would put things like, excellent problem solver. That was on my resume, because I was one who was able to find problems and fix them. Now, notice that doesn't say anything about any particular job I had. It was just a general skill set, you know. Able to negotiate and work out deals with people. That could be with almost anything. Okay? So you think of the skill sets that you can bring into almost anything that are part of what you do. And it could be anything as high as like a brain surgeon to a rocket scientist down to, you know, the guy working on the line in the factory. Okay? Or the janitor or something. I mean, whatever you think is lower and higher. I don't know. I think those guys actually are higher because, I mean, those are jobs, you know, that people wouldn't want. You do them anyway and you do them well. So I would really praise people that do those kind of things. Somebody's got to do them. And, it's, you know, I mean, a lot of people think, I would like to be a doctor. Yeah, well, maybe you would, maybe you won't. But, you know, how about the people who do the jobs people don't want? I mean, that to me is praiseworthy. But you have more skill sets than just unclogging a toilet, okay? You also have a skill set called I'm willing to do what has to get done even though it may not be very appetizing to do. All right? So that, I mean, does that help?
Yes, that's perfect. Like you actually took it in a different direction and made it click better, so thank you.
Good.
And then my question is, a couple weeks ago when I went back to my old stomping grounds, I met someone I haven't met since I was a kid. I think you know who I'm talking about, I hope. And
I kind of remember, yes.
okay. But she was like, at the end of our meeting, she was like, oh, I'm so happy that you're healthy and happy and all this. And I remember walking out going, whoo, we're out of there. But at the same time, I'm like, I am, but I'm not where I want to be because I have all these walls up. And you have the chisel, or the thing that does to the chisel, I should say. But how do because I'm so just sick of having chisel, and I understand that's what the correction is doing, is helping chisel that stuff away.
Right.
But how do I get the wall to completely just knock down? Because I do great one-on-one.
We use a sledgehammer.
Okay, where can I get that?
Actually, I've tried that on you. It doesn't actually work very well.
Yeah, I don't have
okay.
a reset button.
Look, excuse me. Look, the bottom line is, right, listen, the bottom line is, this is the same question that Rocky was asking in a sense. You have to have the patience to accept that it is what it is. He's going to do what he's going to do in his timing. And this is your challenge because you want it now.
As always.
Okay? But he's going to give it to you at the pace that's necessary to grow you properly.
Okay.
Welcome to reality. Okay, I know you don't like that. But
No, I don't, because I feel like I'm not growing.
No, you are. You're just not growing at the speed you want to. Ashley, I've been working with you now for a couple of years. You've been growing amazingly. All these people watching you have seen you grow.
Okay.
Okay? But you now, the more you see that you're capable of, the more you want, so the more you don't think you've done anything. But the growth that you've done and since you've been here has been very praiseworthy. All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's just, I want to be able to hang out and because I have, like I said, one-on-one is mostly, for the most part, easy. If I can find something I can communicate and resonate with. But when I'm in those groups, like when I went to Aliana's tea party, I was like, it's like, I just want to be able to hang out.
Wait, but I do that at parties too, okay?
Yeah, but I don't
that's
want to
not
be
a
comfortable
joke.
there.
I mean, if we have a social activity, I'm usually off by myself. I'm not the one, unless I'm trying to entertain in some way, I'm not the one sitting there interacting with anybody. Look, how many of you have been out with us when we do the after oneg thing, and I'm sitting at the end of the table on my phone while everybody else is talking? Mm-hmm. All these hands are going up, okay? So, Ashley, that's not an unusual thing.
No, I
right?
know. I'm just sick of being comfortable there.
Look, but you have to be comfortable where you are. Look, again, this is where the colors work against me that I usually think work for me, in that I don't have any blue. You need blue to do that stuff, okay? But it has to be all the right parts of the blue that has the intimacy and social and desire for relationships to sit there and listen to the stuff you guys talk about that I don't know how you do it. But and actually act interested. I don't.
Okay.
And I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek because if I had that, I'd be interested too. Because I'd understand why you find it interesting, okay? But the thing is, my wife will tell you, anytime we get invited to a party, my first answer is I don't want to go. I don't care who invites me, okay? Ask Janet. Every time she's invited me, I've either not shown up or I've said I didn't want to go.
I know the hesitation.
Okay, because I don't do the social thing comfortably. I know it surprises you because I'm so extroverted. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with being introverted and extroverted. I just don't have that piece, that piece of the puzzle that has you do social things. All right. I'd rather just be doing. So sometimes you'll see me in a group and you'll think, "Wow, Rabbi's doing really great." No, they're asking me rabbi things, and I'm teaching, instructing, guiding, or something, or I'm telling jokes and making everybody laugh or doing something that. So if I'm not entertaining and not teaching and working, I don't know how to socialize. So that for me. But I have to accept that. Okay?
Okay.
All right? I've actually been to one of these things. We were at the diner, I think, and I just got up and walked out and went home. I said to my wife, I said, I don't really, and I just got up and left. I wasn't mad at anybody, and she knew it, right? I don't remember where it was. I think it was that City Cafe?
Guys.
Yeah. And we all sat down, and right after sitting down, I was like, no. Probably right after I got Elder to show up, and then I didn't show up. That's probably how it worked out.
That's funny because
I did that with Janet's house about 14 times. Elder would say to me, "You going to go to Janet's house?" I said, "I'm small." And so he'd go. Then he'd call me up like, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm home." He's like, "Faked me out again."
It's funny you say that because that moment you were actually sitting behind me.
I was sitting behind you when I got up to leave the diner.
Yes. But that's my point.
And nobody should be offended by that. It's not you. Okay? Look, my wife wants to throw parties at our house. I don't want to be there. Well, honey, let's have a 4th of July thing at the house by the pool. No. We did it one year, and she'll tell you, I didn't even come outside. I was in my office the whole time. I came out, said hello, ate a burger, went back to my office. Okay? Then some of the guys found me and said, well, why don't we just what did we do? We cleaned our guns or something, something to do. Okay? And even then, I wasn't doing it because I don't know how to do that, so somebody did it for me. Okay? And I sat there and watched them while we talked. Okay? All right? But I don't even want to go to the ones at my house. Okay? So don't feel bad.
Okay. So I just have to be okay with going to the parties and wanting to be a fly on the wall.
Yes. Yes.
That's not normal.
Okay, wait. Shh. This is group therapy. Everybody can benefit. She said that's not normal. The point is, what is normal? Okay? There is no such thing as normal. Everybody's different.
Well, what's hard for me, though, is I have this image of who I want to be, but I'm scared of getting there.
Well, then you got to take everything I told Rocky and put that to you. Stop being afraid. Because if being afraid, you'll never get there. Okay? Okay, so if you think about, some people, maybe you guys know how cars work and stuff. It'd be like throwing water in your engine. You're not going anywhere, okay? You want to put fuel in that engine. Okay, fear and worry is all going to basically either drain all the fuel out or whatever other thing you want to think that's going to make the car not go, okay? So you got to deal with the fear problem. You want to become somebody else, then you got to stop being afraid of becoming that somebody else, all right? And if you're afraid, you're never going to get there. See, at 60 years old, I'm totally at peace with saying, my wife's gotten really good at it too, because she's been like, she didn't want me to go by herself, or she just didn't want me not to go, whatever, or she was maybe embarrassed that I'd show up without. Now everybody knows I don't go, nobody cares. Because it's not them. They know it's nothing personal. People would be, well, Rabbi didn't come to my party. Rabbi didn't go to anybody's party. Because I don't have that social something. That's nothing personal. Like I said, I don't even go to my own parties. Okay. All right?
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Not you. Sorry.
All right, Janet.
We love you, Ashley.
All right, so this week, during your counselings, you remind everybody that the stronger emotion wins.
Yes.
Okay, that's the one you need to use this week.
I will, for sure. I always tell them you can only entertain one emotion at a time.
Right.
And I was thinking about choosing life versus death, right? Because anything that is not gratitude and joy and peace is basically death, right? I mean, it's the negative. So, yeah, I will use that for sure. So I was thinking about when you were talking about finding balance, right? You were saying make sure you find balance in all the areas of your life. So we are expected to do the best we can.
Right.
So I thought that, okay, which is really great revelation. I guess I wasn't, I love every Rosh Chodesh because you're always giving us good advice on how to handle our life.
Wait, I got to interrupt because I just
Yes.
have a thought, and it goes with what you just said with balance and what Rocky was asking about. See if this works for you, right? If you need peace and belief, that's like standing on both feet. You try to do one of them without the other, it's like trying to always stand on one leg. Okay? You can kind of make it work a little bit, but you can't stand very long. You stand on two legs, you can stand there for a long time. Okay? You can have, if you have peace without belief, you're just standing on one leg. If you have belief without peace, you're standing on one leg. Right. You need both. Yeah. That's how so you're standing, you're balanced. Okay? Does that help Rocky at all? Okay, Janet, right? Yep. Okay, so that's when people say, they're entertaining this fear and everything else. Now they don't have peace, even though they do believe. So now they're trying to stand on that one leg, and you can't stand like that very long. I mean, the best of the people that are out there could maybe do a couple of minutes. I mean, at some point, you just can't do it. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, this is really good. That finding balance. So obviously, at some point, you're going to focus a little bit more on one area, right? I mean, it's impossible to kind of focus on all the areas, I suppose, but as long as you're keeping some of the basics kind of like practices, like let's say health, like exercise and all this stuff, maybe you're good to go for some time, but focus on relationships. Well,
no, you should be able to focus on, okay, I'm going to disagree just from this point of view, all right? I think you need to spend very focused time on just one area at a time, figuring out what you're wanting to do. In other words, doing the you are here, where you want to go, finding a vehicle, okay? Then when you finish that one, go to the next one. You are here. So, no, you can't do all of them at the same moment, right? You got to take a couple of hours or whatever it is to figure each one out. But once you figure it out, you could be working on all of them at the same time.
okay.
So, because when you're going to eat, you're working on your health. Or if you're deciding to sit or to do exercise, you're working on your health, right? If you're doing something, when you're deciding to deal with some people or not deal with people, you might be working on relationships or thinking about doing something for them or being aware of them and maybe making a phone call, sending a text, whatever it is, right? So you can do all of them at the same time, but in terms of setting out the plan, that may take, to do the finance thing is going to take you days, okay? And it's going to be tough to just spend all your time getting that right and then do something else. Unless, of course, you're a little ADD and you can't really do it straight through. So spend a couple of hours on one and then shift and do a couple of hours on another one. That's fine too, okay? But you're not doing them all at the same time, so to speak. But then your life at different moments is focused on a relationship, or at that moment it's focused on your career and your job, or it's focused on your health, Okay, when I leave work, I have an opportunity to focus on maybe relationship or maybe health. Maybe I'm going to go decide to sit down, or I'm going to decide to go to work out, right? Or I'm going to decide what I'm going to eat, right? Now, at that moment, I'm not thinking about the finances. So throughout the day, you're shifting gears. So you can do all of them at the same time, but it's hard to make a plan for all of them sitting down. You can't make 5 plans at the same time. Make one, then the next one, then the next one, right?
I love that.
All right,
That's
good.
very good, because
Right.
even with one thing, you can cover 3 areas, right?
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I just wanted to say, Rabbi.
And also think about the way I gave it to you in the Level Up class.
Yeah.
We spent the first 2 classes plus just on the finances. Yes. Then we took the next one and focused just on relationships, right? Whatever it was. So I gave you the method.
Yes.
Right there. Okay, good.
Yes, I do. I have that. I still do. Yeah. I just wanted to praise the Father for you, Rabbi, because I really feel honored to be upstairs with the children. I really do. And the parent helpers, obviously Rebbetzin, who is our beautiful leader there. I just feel so stretched when I'm with them, because I see the progress that they make, some of them through the years, how much they have matured. And I just love how we are allowed to see that transformation, even with Ashley. Like you were saying, you've been counseling for 2 years, and a lot of the people here, I hope I have grown too. I should have, because you either grow or you go, right? But the thing here is, without the structure that we have here, And we have the permission that we have from you to be who we are and to blossom into the person that we can be without changing our true nature, but becoming like him. It's just such a refreshing way to look at life and to look at each other, right? And valuing everybody's differences and personalities and talents and abilities. So I'm just praising Abba for the riches that we have here, but especially for your leadership that has allowed and supported that. Even with Sarah Beth, like we were doing dancing earlier today, you know, every person that is put in that position, Michael Condon, you know, Jessica, I mean, everybody has their abilities and they're putting that into practice. And it's just awesome to see that, you know, here, Rabbi. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. All right, listen. One of the things that she said, which I really appreciate, but I want to make sure to clarify, we're going to go back to the revelation thing, right? She said something about me giving you permission to be yourself. Okay, you didn't really need me to give you permission. I'm encouraging you to be yourself. But here's the thing. That doesn't do any good if you don't receive that and then actually start taking the action of being yourself. Okay? And I can give you, quote unquote, permission to do anything, but if you don't actually take advantage and go and do it because you receive that permission and then go ahead, okay? Look, one of the things that I could tell you this was a little bit of a struggle for me when I first started ministry. My wife can, tell you. I felt somewhat pressured. I don't know, somewhat, all right? Pressured to be aware of what I sounded like in terms of what I would say when I was at the microphone a little bit. Although I was always pretty much myself anyway. But then I would hear a little bit of like, well, should you have said that or maybe, until I just said, you know what? I'm not going to pretend to be anything I'm not. I'm going to just get up there and be me. And if people don't like it, it's okay. And the same thing, when it came to, because we had people that in our congregation, you ever have congregation members or friends that will like check out what books you read and what movies you've got, and they're going to judge. You got demons behind every box, and they're going to look in your bathroom, what you got in your medicine cabinet. You don't have any people like that? We've had people like that, okay? All right, they'll go and look in your kids' rooms to see what toys they're playing with. Oh, that's demonic. This is the kind of, silliness that we were dealing with. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to care anymore. If I decided to go see a movie or read a book or something, and if I happen to mention it, and somebody thinks that that's something I shouldn't have done, they're not me. I don't care, all right? I'm not apologizing for being me. You shouldn't apologize for being you. You're a work in project. You're a work in process. I'm a work in process. And so, when people, and often they'll come and say, well, if you could just deliver the message a little different. No, I'm not going to. And I'm not doing, by the way, I don't deliver the message with any thought in mind of how to do it. I'm just being me. You understand? And if you know me away from the mic, you know that really is just being me. And if anything, it's slightly toned down, okay, because I know I'm in public to some degree, but it's still being me, all right? Okay? And so that's what I want you to do. That's kind of the example. That's the main point I'm trying to make here, is that I'm trying to lead by example. Okay? Don't be me, but be like me in that, be yourself fully, and don't worry about what everybody else is going to think of you being you. All right? Does that make sense? Okay? All right? Because I've had people email us and say, well, I just hope you don't change in the way you do, whatever. I'm like, how would I change? This is me. All right? All right, this isn't a show. Okay? You have to know me away from the mic. This is not a show. Some of you think, oh my gosh. He's like that all the time? Yes. Okay? And so, so how would I ever change the way I deliver messages and the way I feel when the strength of that, and sometimes when I get loud and strong, whatever it is, it's genuine. Abba wants to see who you really are. By the way, if you're thinking of marrying somebody, they should see who you really are, and you should see who they really are before that happens. Because guess what? After you get married, you start acting more like you really are, and if that's not the same as you were before, that could be a problem. Okay? So you got to be real, okay? And that helps a lot, right? That's going to help a lot. All right, Sarah Beth.
I'm so glad I chose to come and stay, even though I'm like dead on my feet, tired. Mr. Rocky, thank you. I don't know who else that was for, but it was definitely for me, so thank you. This may be a really, really simple aha that I think I got out of that, but seems really profound to me. You said we've learned fear. So like fear is like learning anything. Like with the dance, you ingrain the dance steps into your muscles. Fear and worry are things that we've practiced and gotten really good at. All that we have to do is break the muscle memory and learn trust and belief at a higher level than we've practiced fear and worry. Is that correct?
That is correct. By the way, just this doesn't really share something that's inappropriate to share, but you know what? I counsel a lot of people. Sarah Beth has a regular scheduled meeting with me, and you know what we spend most of the time doing? Her saying things like that. I got this idea. This is the way I connected the dots. Is that correct? You know what? I enjoy this a whole lot more than some of the crazy emotional nonsense that other people bring. I mean, a lot of the appointments are things she figured out all week long and wanted to make sure she made the right connections, and she gets to, okay, this happened, this is how I handled it. And so I love those kind of things, okay? Because that gives me a chance to see how my student is applying things, and all of you, essentially, if I'm your teacher, are like my students. Because, I'm not saying every session that I ever talk to any of you should be that, but feel free to share those kind of things where you took something that you learned, you found a way to apply it, or you found a way of connecting it together, and just ask, did I do it well? Is that correct? All right? And guess what? The longer we do that, the more the answer will be consistently, that was good, that was good, that was good, all right? Which she gets that a lot, all right? Now, of course, if it's not, I'll tell her, nah, it doesn't quite, I don't, so it's not like I just spoil my daughters and that kind of thing, okay? But it is if it is correct. So I just wanted to share that. I hope you didn't mind that I shared that, Sarah Beth. So anyway, Maisie.
Hi, Papa.
Hey.
You talked about embracing your future, like being childlike. Well, for somebody like me who didn't really have a childhood and couldn't embrace the little girl, so to speak, in me, what does that look like for someone like me? How do I embrace looking towards my future and saying I can be this and I can be that when I spent most of my time just doing the next thing that needed to be done
Right.
as a child?
All right. Maybe since you didn't have this, you don't understand, okay? None of us actually remembers that. But we understand the concept of it based on how we've seen other children do it when we see them as their children. I don't remember being that as a child. Probably none of you do, okay? But we see other children do it. And we see them, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be a fireman. And they're like 3 years old thinking I'm going to be. And then parents will start saying things like, well, you'll never be that. No, you can't do that. Nobody in our family's ever done that, You know how the first person in your family got to be a college graduate? Is because the first person believed that they wanted to and could do it. Okay? I think my wife was the first one, right, in her family. And they actually weren't all excited about the idea when she wanted to do it. All right? So I hope you understand. I can't look back and remember being that. Nobody really can. But I'm trying to explain something that we see this now in other children and realize we were probably like that at some point. When we were children, that's the concept that I want you to embrace. The idea that there's no restriction to possibility because you haven't learned yet that there's any restriction to possibility. Do you see what I'm saying? Life hasn't beaten you out of that stuff yet. So you had it beaten out pretty early. I don't know if I did or didn't have anything, but we don't remember that stuff. But it's something that hopefully we've seen enough when you see children and the excitement that they just think they can do anything and everything and they can be anything and anything, And that's what I want you to embrace. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. So
Okay, but I didn't want you to feel like you're at a deficit because you couldn't remember back. I can't remember it either, all right? Because you just don't carry that stuff forward from when you're a kid, because once they tell you, no, you can't do that and everything, that shuts all that down. But I'm here now to reverse that by telling you, yes, you can do that.
I just remember all the negatives, like you can't do this, you never be that,
Right.
you'll never amount to this or that.
Well, that's part of the new Papa role I'm trying to do for you. So I'm telling
Yes,
you.
believe me, I appreciate it.
All right, so
Love
I'm telling
for
you,
it.
you can
Thank
do
you.
it. Yeah, you can do it.
Thank
all right?
you.
You're welcome. All right? Now, all of you watching may not realize it, but everybody coming up except for Janet are all daughters. I mean, it was just like daughters on parade over here. I got 2 more coming. All right, Bianca.
Hi. So I love the fact that you brought up leveling up. And through our counseling even, it's like there was, we talked about a lot of things that I was struggling with. And I feel like, I've been blessed with so much and it's been great and I want to be a good steward. But even in those moments with all the blessings, I felt like I was being almost ungrateful because I was like, okay, well, I'm here, but now I want to be here. And I think that like my biggest, I don't want to say fear, but concern was, am I being ungrateful in those moments or discontent when, even though I have all these great things happening, but I'm also looking in the future that far up and ahead. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it makes sense because that's not the way I would think, but I can understand lots of people have that problem. Okay, so it does
Yeah.
make sense that that's the way you feel. So let me kind of explain this. All right, if at the level you're at, it would be totally normal to want more. Okay, Abba has created us to always be aiming higher, upward looking, like we're looking at the heavens. We want to be like that, like the creator of the universe. So to be aiming higher. The problem is when have achieved and you don't appreciate, and that turns into where you're upset about where you are. But so that's where we have to have the Dayenu moment, which is, hey, if I don't go any further, this is enough. But I want to go further. But if I don't get further, I really appreciate being here. But when you don't value where you are while still reaching higher, that's where you end up in the place where you're not appreciated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it was more like a guilt thing. Like, right, because I'm going, okay, well, I'm really blessed, I'm happy where I am, but I want to be higher. It's like, am I just being...
Well, because the world, okay, you can put that right closer to your mouth.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Sorry.
All right.
So much louder now.
Yeah. So, because you're making Ben really work hard trying to get the volume loud enough to get you going.
Sorry.
All right. So, look, the thing is, there's a societal, cultural thing that wants to make you feel bad wanting more. Okay? Which is put out there by all the people that don't have. Because you shouldn't want more if I don't have. So you're greedy, you're selfish, you're an egomaniac, you're this, you're that, because you want more. The key is, can you, look, in Scripture it talks about, we say this every time we finish a meal, have you eaten and are you satisfied? Well, the answer should be yes, I've eaten and I'm satisfied, but I want more. Well, why do you want more? That's really the bigger question. I want more because I just want more. Well, now you're in a bad place. I want more because I have things I want to do with that more to help more people. Okay? So you have to have a good reason to want more for emotional connection with the wanting more properly. Okay? There are those that just want because they feel like the one who has the most when they die wins, which is stupid. Okay? But what are you going to do with the more? All right? I mean, I am doing so much more, helping so many more people, I mean personally, not just the ministry, me personally, now that I have more than at times in my life when I had less. Because there's only so much you can do when you don't have in terms of helping people, okay? And I'm not just talking about handing money out to people. I'm saying if you don't have emotional stability, how can you help people emotionally? If you don't have whatever it is that you have more of, now you can help people who have less of. But if you don't have, how can you help, okay? And so I want all of you, if you're at a good place and you still want more, that's fine, that's great. If you're starting to feel weird about it, guilty about it, or the voices of the past and other people, then beat that by, as far as push that away by clarifying why you want more.
Right.
Okay? And as long as it's a good reason and you love the reason, you have peace with that reason, it's congruent with you, then go get more. Do what you got to do to develop more, whatever more is. Okay?
That makes me feel so much better. I'm on the right track then.
Good, yes,
Okay.
yes. That's part of the role, okay? Follow up for what she just said? Okay, quickly come in and then Deirdre's going to go. And then look, more daughters. Okay.
Wanted more, Rabbi. Wanted more. I know that some people, they get into an accident, they get sick. Like if they're trying to climb up the ladder,
Sure,
you know.
sure.
I don't know if you've read that. There's a book that I've been reading, Big Leap. It talks about that. So if you're having a struggle with wanting more, that's what you're saying is because it has to do with your why. It doesn't have to do with any limiting belief.
Oh, wait. Okay,
Yeah.
You're mixing some things together. You're saying that people are getting affected negatively by their wanting more?
when they're trying,
When they're trying.
when they're in the middle of
Okay.
starting a project or whatever else they're working on.
All right, then there's a congruence problem in their thinking, or they've turned a want into a need. Okay? So let me kind of clarify that. If you've got enough, don't ask me what enough is, it's different for everybody. All right? If you've got enough and you want more, but you've turned that wanting more into a need, now you might overstress your system, and it's really not what you should be doing, right? Because you actually have enough. In other words, you don't want to do something that's going to overload your plate. Because I've had people tell me all the time, my plate's full. They're all stressed because their plate's overloaded. All right. Don't overload your plate. And the funny thing is, don't think everybody else who's doing more than you're doing has an overloaded plate either. Some people have more bandwidth than you do, and that's not a negative on you. They're just built differently. I mean, I tell people all the time, all worried about, we're just worried you're going to burn out. I don't have a bandwidth problem, okay? I will never take on more than I can handle. Ask my wife, she'll tell you, I am never burned out and overloaded, okay? I don't take on more than I can chew. Don't you either. Now, why do they do it? That's your point, okay? They do it because they've turned a want. Hey, I want more. Everybody wants more. Okay, fine. But now they need more. Even though it was a want originally, they really don't need. And so they're going to push themselves beyond their capacity because they have to have it, right? Because needs, we haven't talked about this in a long time, but the needs, wants disconnect I always talk about, okay, is where you have a disconnect between what's a want and what's a need. Need, by definition, must happen. I need to breathe. So if you start to cover my mouth, I'm going to do whatever I can to try to breathe, right? So you do anything and everything to meet a need. You don't do that for a want. So if your wants become a need, now you're going to work as hard as you would for any other need, and you may overload your system, okay? So you have to figure out how to make your whatever your bandwidth is in terms of time, effort, emotion, whatever. Because you may have enough time, but you don't have the emotional capacity. You've already burned that out with other things. You may have enough emotional capacity, you don't have enough time, or you don't have the physical capacity, whatever it is. You got to know where your limitations are, you know? I hate to quote Dirty Harry, right? A man's got to know his limitations. Right? The Magnum Force, I think, right? So the point is, we have to know our limitations. And so that's where you have to find peace at the level that works the best for all of the things. Okay? You may want more of something, but more of something is pushing you into a place that's not really working well. So come back down to where everything works. Okay? But if you're not where everything works, you got to keep working till you get to where everything works. Okay? I'm not saying, just don't make the effort. If you want, then make the effort. If you're finding that making the effort is overloading your system and causing you to have some crashes in different areas, well, then bring it down a notch. And then ask yourself, and this is something you could ask with your clients, are you confusing a want with a need? Okay? Because I could tell you what, in my life, when I've been really in a bad financial place, I've worked what I did what had to happen. Way harder than I work necessarily every day now when things are kind of working smoothly. Because it became a need. I was broke. I had to pay bills. I had to get things done. I was whatever it was. Which is why I don't understand when I talk to some of these people that are unemployed or underemployed and they're not working 3 jobs or driving DoorDash or whatever they could do, and they're telling me how broke they are. I'm like, I'm sorry, but you got a need. If you're calling me for financial help, you have a need. And when I ask you what you're doing, you better have done everything to your bandwidth's limit before you ask me for anything. Because then I know it's a real need, that you're taking it seriously. See, the problem is we're used to asking for handouts. And people are enablers, and so they give you the handouts. Okay? And then we feel entitled because they're the enablers who keep giving us the handouts. And so I wouldn't tell somebody to work that hard if their needs are met. I would just say it depends on how bad you want it. If you want something bad enough, you'll do it. If you're happy where you are, stay happy where you are. Okay? Anyway. Hopefully did that answer it mostly? All right, good. All right, Deirdre.
Hi, Dad.
Hey.
So I don't know if this helps anybody, but in the terms of it is what it is, because I'm struggling. Well, I'm learning how to overcome that through different, first of all, through your counsel.
Right.
But a line from one of my favorite books that I read as a child popped in my head. It was one of the Narnia books. And during the scene, Aslan, the lion, who's supposed to be representing, God through how C.S. Lewis knew him, was going to crown one of the new kings. And he was telling the king about where he came from, his ancestors, and how they were pirates, but eventually formed a kingdom and overcame Narnia. And he says, do you understand what I'm telling you? And the king says, yes, I understand, but I wish that I came from a more honorable lineage. And the lion said, you come from the Lord Adam and the Lady Eve. And that is both honor enough to erect the head of the poorest beggar and shame enough to bow the shoulders of the greatest emperor on earth. Be content.
That's a good line. That's a good line.
So
I almost thought I said that's a good lion, but okay. Come on.
But it got me connecting, be content equals it is what it is. So I don't know if that helps anybody.
Okay, yeah, good. Thank you. And by the way, for everybody out there that thinks this is all weird, look, we don't have any kind of a weird ministry here with all these daughter things. Look, I have one daughter, okay? But I came to realize years ago that one of the worst problems we have is that we have all these women that have been spent their whole lives or, without really a proper male figure. And so I just thought, well, hey, let me see if I can do that for you for one. And it was working so well, others decided they wanted to see what that could work like too. And so and by the way, just so you know, not like what some ministries might do that gets all weird and stupid. This is about providing safety first. Okay, these women feel much more safe knowing they have someone who is there to protect and make sure they're okay. Okay, so that's more like you would actually think would properly be. Just because I know some people are wondering, what in the world is going on with all of this stuff? By the way, some of them are older than me, so don't even think it has anything to do. Okay? All right? But it's an experience that they lacked. And I have the personal experience with my own daughter of knowing just how important dad is, okay? And what really hit me was the first time she was in a public school and they asked her to write, make a coloring book thing about, who's your hero. And she was actually shocked that she was the only one that said her dad was. Like they thought their dads, she thought everybody would have their dad as their hero. And so I thought, wow, I'm the hero to this little girl. And you know what? She comes to me all the time like, Dad, get your cape out, okay? I mean, so she comes to me and just, well, she doesn't say it that way. She just asked me for some help. And I said, she goes, I don't want to bother you. I said, I like taking out the cape, okay? I like to be the hero, all right? Okay? So what'd you say? Yeah, I'm the one that says, yeah, I did. I changed it. No, you never say that. No, I say the cape thing. You just look for help, and then sometimes you're like, I don't want to bother you. It's like, no, it's not bothering me. I like to be the hero, all right? Okay? And so, and I think that I've watched a lot of people grow up, and I just think that, maybe just me as her father, but I think she's been incredibly benefited from the idea of having a hero her whole life, okay? So now, of course, then I've got all these other people when I counsel and realize they had nightmares, not heroes. Or they had nobody. It was just vacant. And so, that's a big gap and missing piece. And so there were those that, and it started off really in this most serious way with Sarah Beth when she came here with her brother and her mother, and really then her mother left the whole deal out, and so she didn't have any family. And really, believe it or not, I started off with a son before a daughter because I took on her brother first and treated him like a son, okay? And so that's where it really all started, bringing daughters in, And now she really, my wife treats her like a mother, and my daughter treats her like a sister, and that's worked out beautifully. But now, just then that's where we end up with others, and mostly it's been a parade of those today. Just so happen to be who have taken and made use of that. And here's another one named Shannon.
For the record, I think you have more daughters than Tevya.
Actually, I did a count of them the other day. There's like 20, so I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Why was that? Oh, yeah, we took the daughter's picture last feast. That's true. Yeah, it was like, we didn't have all of them in it even, but it was like 20 of them. All right, go ahead. And you're all making me proud, too. So I'm very proud of all of you. Yeah.
That means a lot to hear that whenever I counsel with you and you tell me that you're proud of me. I didn't realize how much I needed a manly figure to tell me those things. That means so much. Is it just me, or does everyone else feel their heart pounding really hard when they get the microphone? Is it okay? It's not just me. Okay, maybe this is my time to die. I will accept it.
I don't. What are you talking about? No, look, that's part of the weirdness of being me. Is I'm happiest here. Okay. And so that's why I have the job, though. You know. All right, go ahead.
This is more of a comment because everything you've said is absolutely valuable and true. Especially when you said that, like when we hear words spoken to us, and it's really up to us how we receive it. And most of the time, we receive it in a negative way, and sometimes we don't even realize it. Because I know I've received words negatively, mainly because of my personality. When people point out that, like when people just make a comment of me being quiet, I've realized how many times I always took it in a negative way. Okay, this must mean that I'm weak and incapable, because I kind of, after reading books about introverts, sometimes it feels like I'm competing in a society where the louder people are more favored. But then going through this process, I'm learning to accept, hey, this is me. This is what I naturally am. Yeah, I'm quiet at first because I'm an observer. I'm a deep thinker. I think deep, very deep. You have no idea. And sometimes I get stuck there, and then I kind of go into my own little world. But I've come to learn just to still love myself and accept myself. That yes, I'm quiet, and but hey, you come get to know me. I'm funny. I will confidently say that. My wit will come out of nowhere. You don't know what hit you. I will say that confidently. And, I think we should, take time to even appreciate, because we know we should always have gratitude for the things Abba's done for us. How about gratitude that he created us the way we are for a reason? And also that we're growing, because I work hard to look back to see, okay, look how far I've come, because sometimes I still feel stuck, and then I'm going backwards, because right now that's just what I've been feeling like ever since coming back from Australia, that I've been going backwards. But then I realized sometimes you have to go backwards to go forward. Sometimes you got to cut things off to encourage the growth more. So, but I wanted to say that this means a lot, and I want to thank you for being the fatherly figure that I needed. And I praise Abba that this April it'll mark 5 years of being here with MTOI. And I remember when my mother and I first came here, we were struggling. The factory job was it was kicking me because I wasn't used to that kind of work. And my mom and I when my mom had this idea, because we were struggling with money, that we should just go back to South Dakota, raise up more money, and then come back. And I remember we were counseling with you about it. And then you said, just stay and keep going. You're already here. Don't give up. And I remember you looked at me and you said, because I can tell Miss Shanna does not want to leave. And that meant a lot to me, because usually people overlook me, but you saw me, and that meant a lot. So thank you.
Amen. You know what's funny is before you started telling that story, that was the story I was going to tell when you were finished, to say how proud I am. Okay, so the way I remember the story, okay, is that, yeah, she was here with her mother. They moved from South Dakota, somewhat very isolated. I mean, this is not somebody that I thought was going to meet somebody, fly to Australia, get married, and all this thing, because she was just very much enclosed and shy and isolated to be able to do all those things. And so when her mother was like, well, let's go back to South Dakota, I did see it, but Shannon, what I did say to you was, do you want to go? And you said, listen, this is even more proud for you. It wasn't that I said to you, I see that you don't want to go. I asked you, do you want to go? And you said, no, I can do this. I want to do this. Okay? And I was proud that you stood up to your mother's wanting to go and said, I need to stay. I can do this. And she was struggling making the time and whatever she was doing at Mars, working at the factory. But she's like, I got to do this. And that's when I said to your mother, I said, you need to let her stay. She needs to do this. Okay? And so I was really proud of you in that moment because you found your voice. So it wasn't just that I noticed you, but you actually, wow, I was like surprised. You found your voice and said, I need to do this. And you were trying to get your mother to understand that. And I helped her to see that, But I was really proud of you in that moment that you're like, now this is when you realize you need something that you want. She knew she needed to do this. So she found the voice that she hadn't used with her mother before and said, no, I need to stay. I want to stay. I can do this, all right? And so that was really this way I was going to tell the story, but I appreciate the way you told it too. But it's the same idea is that I saw it. I said, yeah, she doesn't want to go, So let me ask her. I said, you don't want to go, do you? She's like, no, I can do this. And she was really struggling. Like she thought she might get fired. I mean, she was really struggling, but she did it, okay? And she was able to be successful for a long time there, and then she ends up meeting Ollie, and then she ends up in Australia, and she gets married. I mean, the growth is, again, so tremendous, So tremendous. Very proud of you. Yeah. All right. And now you got a bunch of sisters back there hugging you. See, this is what it's all about, all right? It's all about. Okay, Rocky.
Well, I hope people see that I respect you as like a father, and I come to you like I'm coming to my father to show me how to live. I mean, you have shown me so much already in these short times how to live. Nothing like I've ever experienced in my life. And it makes sense. I mean, everything that I learned was a lie, and I need someone to show me how to live. But you said that I had tremendous faith, and I believe that I have the faith that He can heal me, even if it's not, as long as it's not cancerous. But if not, then I need not to have that fear and that peace in whatever to accept. Is that what I?
Yeah, absolutely. But look, okay. I want to just say this. Most ministries would be, when you say I'm teaching you how to live, would think, especially from a Torah point of view, that I'm just teaching you what to eat, what to do, what days. No. This is more like, in the vertical, like that father role of saying, like, you don't need to be afraid. You can handle this. You can stand up and take care of this thing. I believe in you. The stuff that you should have heard from a father person along the way. Because after all, the Father refers to himself as the Father.
That's right.
Because he wants us to look at him like that, which means that everybody in the vertical is supposed to have some elements of that role. Okay? And so one of the roles of a father is to do what? Teach the children how to live, which is not restricted just to halakha. But the idea of being successful in life. And so Elder and Rabbi Tom and myself, we take that as a kind of collective together as a role to try to provide for people, whether they officially want to, claim and say, hey, could you be like a father figure to me? But we do that anyway with everybody to some degree, right? And so when you come and meet with me, one of the things I say to you as it comes up is things like, it's okay. You don't have to be afraid. You can do this, right? You can let that go, whatever that may be at the particular session. Those are not necessarily, I mean, Elder and I can tell you, probably very little of what we do is what normal ministries do. I mean, we do what they do, but it doesn't come up as much as all the other things people need. And we're trying to be able to provide what you need, not just what the definition of, rabbi, pastor, whatever would be. I mean, I don't remember anybody ever going up to any of the rabbis I was, growing up had to ask these kind of things, okay? And provide this kind of level of guidance and counsel and love and providing safety to be yourself and to make mistakes and all that kind of stuff. I don't know anybody ever. Elder, did you have any ministries that ever did that? He said no. Okay? I mean, and we're not doing it, by the way, to be different. We're doing it because it's who we are. Okay? Okay? And I think Elder, get out of the way. I can't see him. Just move for a second. There you go. Sorry. Rocky's standing right in lines. I can't see. Let me ask you something. You probably really appreciate this, the opportunity to minister this way, which you couldn't do when you were in other places. Okay, so he said yes, okay? Because he gets to watch me do it, and he goes, oh, I can do that too? Which includes giving the smacks. All right. But, it's got to start with the top, right? So I set the tone, and then he can say, oh, because I'll walk in the room, and he'll hear me counsel, and he sits in most of the counsel sessions to learn, and he realizes we can actually help people. Not just preach at them and whatever, but help them. Minister to them, which means teach them how to live, which is not restricted to just what do you keep Saturday or Sunday and what do you eat and those kind of things. Because the bigger problem you're having is the emotional battle, the fear and the doubt, and you need someone to help address that, to give you that comfort to know you can make it. How do we start off every Rosh Chodesh? Reminding you that you can get there from where you are right now, right? And so this is a different type of ministry. You're not going to get this almost anywhere else that I know of, okay? And you know why we do it? Because somebody needed it. I didn't just start offering it. I just noticed that this is what they were needing, and then next thing you know, this is what we're doing most of the time. We're trying to meet a need. And again, it comes from, this is almost we'll call it an Elijah sort of, thing, like what the prophecy said, turning the hearts of the fathers to the children and children to the fathers. Well, that means somebody's got to be doing the father thing, okay? And so it's kind of hard to turn children's hearts to fathers when they never had fathers, or their fathers were terrible, or they were absentee, or whatever it was, or they didn't even know who he was, okay? And so we try to provide that role, not like in an official capacity necessarily, but we just do the things necessary so you can see what that looks like. So when people come in counsel, sometimes they're like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. I said, well, do you want a proper adult male relationship where somebody can tell you, hey, you need to knock it off, or you need to get off your butt and go do this, or whatever it is? Because we're going to talk to you like a parent would properly to you at your age. We're not going to talk to you like you're a little kid, but if you're 50 years old, if you're 60 years old, I talk to Rocky like he's my son. He's older than me. Okay? It don't matter. Okay? But I'm going to talk to him the way a father who loves him would talk to him. And that's something we do that I wish everybody else was doing, but they don't. I'm not even sure they'd be able to do it because they probably do it from a wrong approach. Because this is not an easy thing to do right, because you can end up causing more damage. Look, I'm very proud of the fact and really appreciate that when Janet, who does this professionally, tells me that she uses stuff I do, because it makes me feel like I'm doing things that are actually, appropriate and proper in the way that I counsel people, okay? And so, it's just a real blessing that we get to do that. Okay, Rocky? And now you can step back. I don't need to see Billy anymore.
I just want to say thank you, because you've been like a father to me. I mean, you've loved me. You've hugged me when I've stood outside and wept in anxiety. You've smacked me and said, hey, don't act that way. I mean, you've been there. You've loved me when I didn't even feel worthy of love. So thank you so much, Rob.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. All right. And you get to be last, Mr. Chris Wybe, who's neither a son nor a daughter.
Yes. Oh, okay.
How do you like that for an introduction?
Yeah. Okay. So what you were saying about Dave Ramsey's quote of if you live like no one else, you'll live like no one else. I really thank Elder Billy for having the Financial Peace University with part of it. And in that, Dave Ramsey actually updated his quote to be, if you live like no one else, you'll live and give like no one else.
That's true. He did change that.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool because it gives me some more motivation not to just live for myself, but also for other people too. And the more saying, I remember when I moved here, I had a tiny apartment. And at some point, Ben wanted to move in with me. And I was like, yeah, you can move in with me. And he was like, there's no space here. So we found a different apartment. But the money that you're saving in having something less you can give more to other people or to whatever, to the ministry or whoever, with that same money. So it's a motivation, I guess, to some people, to me at least. So, yeah.
Amen. Appreciate that. You know, I did run a Financial Peace University a couple of years ago, and I forgot that he did add that little extra, because once you get your finances right, then you get into taking care of things like your future. I call it lifestyle now instead of retirement, but he'll talk about retirement. But the highest level is the giving side, philanthropy, being able to provide. Okay, so, but you can't do that till you get all of your oxygen mask on first. You're taking care of your stuff and getting it all lined up. That means that you got your emergency fund, you got the 3 to 6 months expenses, and you got your debt paid off, and all these. Now you can start to think about things, and you got your plan for your retirement or your future. Now you can really plan for. Actually, I left off the protecting your assets, which is the insurance. So so these are all your steps, okay? But the last step is, the point is so that you can bless others, all right? So you can bless others. And that's something that's really, really amazing, And so, and then here's the other thing. I had somebody, I won't say who it was this week, but was watching some of the things I do now, because I have a little bit to do with, saying that I inspire them. And so, what a great opportunity that when you get to enough of a level that you're inspiring others then to do the same thing. When he said it inspired me, he was saying, what you're doing, I want to do that too, because I see how you're using money now to help more people. Right? Which means I want to have more so I can help more people. Okay? All right? Okay, so that's the key, right? That's the key. All right, so I hope that was a blessing to everyone. We'll see you again next month for group therapy. Okay? All right, so with that, we're going to close. Father, we come before you. You can all stand up. We'll go ahead and rise for this. I'm standing all the time, so what do I know? All right. Father, we come before you, and Father, we are just overwhelmed with appreciation and thanks and just joy that you have chosen to share yourself with us, that you've chosen to touch us, each one individually, to make us aware of you, and then to give us the opportunity to develop that close relationship with the actual creator of the universe, that you teach us that relationship is called covenant, and you teach us in your word how we can have that relationship. And so, Father, we also thank you for this Rosh Chodesh, for this turning of time. And this one is a very exciting one for us because it means it's only one more month until we start the new cycle of Holy Days. So this is our last one for this last cycle, and so we're very excited and blessed by it, Father. So we ask that you continue to encourage us, help us to have the strength to overcome fear and doubt with trust and belief. Help us to appreciate where we are while we still are striving to reach out to the kingdom eventually. And so, Father, we just appreciate everything that you do, and help us to never, ever take that for granted. So, Father, we thank you, we praise you, and ask all in the name above all names, Yeshua our Messiah. Amen. 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 All right, I'm going to come on this side of the room, so if you want to be on camera, you got to come on this side of the room. It's not like on Shabbat when the camera goes everywhere. See, they're all my daughters, but all running to you. They all want Ima. Okay, all right. They're all wanting to be next to you. Okay. All right. Okay, here comes a couple of, there we go, one of the children. Okay, come on. Awesome. All right. Everybody, okay, the cameras, we don't have it up on the screen up there, so we can't see where we're at, but that's okay. There we go. So if you're on the screen up there, then you know that we're on the camera. All right, here we go. So we want to connect with everybody on the live stream and let them know how much we really appreciate them being a part of the congregation. So we're going to go ahead and wave goodbye to them. I'm going to wish them a Rosh Chodesh Sameach. Okay, we're going to say Shavua Tov, have a good week, and then we're going to tell them that we love them. Here we go. On 3. 1, 2, 3.